been to the Philippines, one of the first things that you might notice is the roads are very different here. The traffic, everything. Even crossing the street like that takes some getting used to. It took me a while to figure out. You just got to go for it. So when it comes to actually riding on these roads, there's just so much going on. You have to have your head on a swivel. So for me, I ride a scooter. Most foreigners ride scooters. Some ride like actual motorcycles. Very few drive cars. So riding a scooter takes some getting used to as well. So this video, we're gonna touch on every aspect that I've learned about riding a scooter in the Philippines, from location, city versus province. What are the rules like here in the Philippines? I'll talk about cost and rental options, long-term versus short-term. What's it like riding by yourself versus having passengers on the scooter? And at the end, I'm gonna answer the question, do I actually think it's safe to ride a scooter in the Philippines? Let's get into it. So when you're out riding, things to consider are, first of all, there's so many different types of like vehicles on the road. You have powered trikes, you have pedal powered trikes, you have scooters and motorcycles, cars, all kinds of different trucks and utility vehicles. You even have like horse-drawn buggies. There's so many different things. On top of that, you have pedestrians to look out for. They will literally come out into traffic to cross the road. It's kind of the only way to do it. Especially here where I am in Dumaguete, there's no stoplight, so it's just constant merging. Every intersection is just cars merging, bikes merging, people merging. So you have to be looking around, you have to be anticipating so many different things. And every different vehicle is sort of operating at a different speed. Some are flying, scooters are weaving their way through traffic. Jeepneys are just kind of steady going, but they might pull over to pick people up. Same with trikes. Trikes are much more maneuverable. They might suddenly veer off to one side to pick some people up. These are all things you have to be aware of when you're riding around in a busy city. A lot of even smaller cities like Dumaguete can get pretty congested, and with no stoplights, it can seem chaotic. Personally, I kind of like it. It's kind of like a video game. When you come up to that intersection, it's sort of like this give and take. Everyone's sort of nudging their nose into the intersection. No one gets angry. It's just the way it's done here. So you're just kind of inching your way in and you're just finding your path, and everyone just kind of makes their way through and then continues on. Another thing you have to consider if you're in the city, really anywhere in the Philippines, but in particular in the city, you cannot be a passive rider on a scooter or motorcycle, in any vehicle for that matter. You have to have a little bit of that confidence, assertive approach to riding around, because you have to make decisions on the fly, and you can't just sit and wait for the perfect opportunity. You have to kind of go for it. So you have to be an assertive rider for sure. Another thing you'll notice too if you're riding a scooter is there's a lot of passing going on. Scooters almost operate on their own set of rules, and actual rules, I can't seem to figure out what the rules are. There's times where I'm riding around where it feels like literally anything goes, especially on a scooter. I've seen people ride the wrong way on a one-way street, cut over a sidewalk just to get to the road that they wanted to get to. However, just the other day, I did see traffic enforcement wave someone down. I actually thought he was waving me down, but it was the person behind me, and I have no idea what they got pulled over for. And apparently in Cebu City, there's increased crackdown on traffic violations, obviously focused on increasing safety with driving around. So it's not like it's just completely lawless. You're just gonna find it to be very different than what you're used to back home. Even if you're not gonna ride your own scooter, let's say you're gonna be on the back of a scooter with someone, or let's say you hire one like a taxi, someone to take you from A to B, you have to be ready for a little bit of craziness when you're riding on a scooter. All of that kind of crazy looking passing is gonna happen. You're gonna be going down narrow little openings between vehicles to get ahead. So that's the name of the game here in the Philippines, in the cities where it's busy. Now in the province, completely different story. Especially the smaller towns, when you get into the nature, beautiful areas. Let's say a place like Camigan Island, where you can just cruise around the island and barely see any cars. These kind of places, it's a completely different experience. You rent that scooter to go on adventures, to go explore. And for me, just the riding around on the scooter is sometimes my highlight of the trip. One thing is for sure though, whether you're in the province or the city, is you're probably gonna see things that'll make your head turn. I was just riding the other day, check this video clip out. You got a father with 3 kids. One of them's like a baby in his arm. So he's got one arm tied up holding a baby and he's riding with one hand. I'm not even sure how he's doing it. You see this kind of thing very often here in the Philippines. And you can see a lot of people piling on these little scooters. I have done it with 2 people on like 1 or 2 occasions. And it definitely, when you're going slow and you're getting ready to park and turn, it really impacts the balance for sure. So that's something you want to practice, something you want to be aware about. Don't just take it for granted because you see other people doing it, that it's just super easy. All right, the cost. I would say the average is between 300 to 500. It also depends on the size of the scooter that you're getting. And if you do longer term, I'm renting one right now that I'm paying, it's a 125 and I'm paying about $250 a day. It's pretty much what it works out to, and I rented it for a month. All right, and the last thing that I want to talk about is, do I think it's actually safe to ride a scooter in the Philippines? The answer is yes and no, of course. There's so many factors to consider when it comes to safety, and there's obviously a risk. There's a risk if you're riding in any car in any city, so there's clearly a risk. And then of course there's an increased risk because you're coming to a new country and the style of riding here is much different. I didn't even mention this, but there are a lot of dogs to consider too. You could be in the province and they're literally in the middle of the road, and some of them don't even move, like they're just so used to vehicles going by, and you might have to just kind of go around them. Don't be complacent, head on a swivel, and you'll have a good time and you'll be safe. Just make sure you find the right comfort level for you on where you're gonna ride. If you're going city, if you're gonna stick with just quiet areas. This is one of the highlights of my trip here, is just the getting around the Philippines, and particularly on a scooter. It's just been such a cool experience. I love it. I get the giggles sometimes when I'm out riding around. It's freaking so much fun. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Check out the links in the description. There's a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to make this channel grow. I'm trying to make this channel sustainable. And anyways, I hope you guys like the content. So I appreciate your support. Stay tuned for the next one.